went and got a doctorate, and because I got that piece of paper, I'm supposed to have the capabilities. That paper showed me that they have the capabilities, but yet, to go out there and really treat a patient, to be in a code situation, do you really have that confidence just because you have a piece of paper?
Welcome. This is the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping others through real estate investing. Our hosts interview guests from all aspects of real estate investing who generously share valuable experiences and advice. Whether you're starting out or an experienced investor, this is the show for you.
Hello, and how's it going? My name is Travis Shelton, and welcome to the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we focus on the mindset, motivation, and methodologies of successful real estate investors. And today, we're going to talk about a very important subject that I just continuously have seen kind of become transparent in my life. And I wanted to be able to share this with you. It's something that I've read multiple books on now. And it's something that I think can help everyone out there, but especially my audience of entrepreneurs and real estate investors. And so we're going to deep dive into what I call the 4 C's. Okay, so we're going to talk number 1, what the heck are the 4 C's for entrepreneurial success? Number 2, some examples and how you can kind of utilize this in your day-to-day life and also just within your real estate investing. And lastly, we'll kind of talk about what that mindset and that mindset of success is by utilizing this. Again, we focus on the mindset of successful entrepreneurs. And this right now is going to be one of those success, toolkits or tools, I would say, for your toolkit to be able to be successful. All right. So what are the 4 C's? This is something that I learned, not a whole, pretty recently, but it's something that just I read, I kind of glossed over. I went back to, I've gone back to now 4 or 5 different times, and it's a principle by Dan Sullivan and the Strategic Coach. Okay. And basically what he was able to identify in real entrepreneurs and people that found success are these 4 C's. And so the 4 C's stand for number 1, commitment, number 2, courage, number 3, capability, and number 4, confidence. All right. And basically what it means is everyone and every decision you make and everything you're trying that's new, right, it really has to go through these 4 stages, right? And you can start it as simple as a baby, right, trying to walk. They have to make that commitment, right, before they can actually try to walk, right? They don't have the capability to walk yet. They don't have the courage to be able to walk yet, or the confidence that they have to walk, but they have to have that commitment first. And once they have that commitment and they've taken full commitment, now they have to have the courage, right? That courage to try to take that first step. And they might fall down. And what do? They get back up and they try again and again and again. But it took that initial commitment, and then it took the courage to be able to take the steps. Now, after they've stumbled and they start to, gain their balance and they start to get their feet underneath them, now all of a sudden they start to have that capability, right? And so, but it started with a commitment. It got some courage, right, to take those first couple steps and fall down. Then the capabilities came after they started working towards or actually walking and falling. And then it's not until, maybe a couple weeks later that they finally have that confidence that, hey, I can do this on my own. I don't need to touch things. I don't need to hold myself up. And also, hey, maybe I can run a little faster. Maybe I can go a little bit faster, right? And so that's a pretty easy example of how you can use the 4 C's and how, really at an early age, this is something I'm trying to instill within my kids is the number 1, when they want something, is to commit to it. Right. And those capabilities, I think is the big gap that a lot of people aren't, really, I guess, novel it's novel to them, right? They want the capabilities, right? And this is why we have such imposter syndrome in this world, right? I went and got a doctorate, and because I got that piece of paper, I'm supposed to have the capabilities. That paper showed me that they have the capabilities, but yet, to go out there and really treat a patient, to be in a code situation, do you really have that confidence just because you have a piece of paper? Or do you have that confidence because you've gone through it multiple times, you have examples, and you build that capability over time? But it takes that commitment to show up to the first code. It takes that commitment to learn the information. That gives you some of the courage to maybe show up for the first time, and then you get the capabilities. But that piece of paper, that degree, doesn't really give you that confidence to go in there in a life-saving, situation and be able to help someone, right? And so within, now we can kind of transition this into real estate investing, right? I wanted to talk about an example. I just had a nice lunch with someone you guys know, Jordan Adela. He's a loan officer, a loan originator for Nexa Mortgage. We've had him on the show before, and we were talking about his business and kind of how can he scale his business? How can he grow this business, right? And as everybody knows, the mortgage industry has been kind of a little slower than in past years, right? With these interest rates going up, he's been looking to say, how can I continue to grow my business? He just recently went 1099, and everything kind of went backwards in this 4Cs process, right? You can't have the confidence before you have capability. You can't have the capability before you have courage, and you can't have courage before you make the commitment. But what he was saying is like, hey, well, once I have the money, right? Once I do these things, then I'll pay for these things, and then that'll let me kind of take off. So as I was having this discussion with him, I was asking him, Jordan, what do you need? Like, what are those things that are holding you back? And he's like, well, really, I'm overloaded with some of these tasks. It'd be nice to have, kind of an administrative assistant. It'd be nice to have someone that can do some of this low hanging fruit so that then I can focus more on income producing activities. And I was like, yeah, but see, that's where this 4Cs really comes into play, right? It's, hey, you got to make the commitment that you're gonna be successful, that by offloading these things, you're going to be able to generate and have more income producing activities. And by having those income producing activities are going to ultimately be able to pay for this back end work or this labor that you're trying to get to. But if you sit there and get always bogged down by all this busy work and all these activities that aren't producing you money, well, you're always going to be waiting, right, for that confidence and that courage and all those other things to be able to then really accelerate your business. All right. So, it was kind of like a shock to him. And also I said, that's something that I too personally struggle with, right? Like, I want to hire additional staff. I want to have staff so that I can continue to step out of my business and focus on my business. But I do the same thing. I'm like, you know what? It's really expensive to hire a full-time person. It's really expensive to hire a lot of 1099s. Do I want to have insurance? Do I want to have 401ks? How big do I want to grow a business, as opposed to keeping it super simple? But to be able to do the things I want to do, I have to leverage other people's time and money. And we talk a lot about who, not how in this podcast, but that's kind of the impetus, is that it is within this 4C formula, everything you can kind of, look at it in life that's looking at the other side of something you want, right, is on the other side of this 4C formula. So the number one, you got to commit. Right. So I want to commit to growing my business bigger. Jordan wants to commit to growing his business bigger. So, and that's true commitment. That's 100% in. That's not 99. That's not dipping your toe in. That's what really slows success, is just trying to dip that toe in as opposed to jumping all the way in. So really committing. Okay. I committed today to wearing this fancy hat. Why? Because I'm going to Texas, and because I thought, hey, I want to commit to doing something different. I wanted to commit, right? I don't have confidence, but I had the courage, right? Which is the next step. I committed to wearing this hat. I had the courage to wear this in front of everybody that can ever see this again on social media, right? But I took that courage. And so I'm taking the courage right now to spend some money out of my pocket to work with someone, both on my podcast and my real estate website and then my real estate investing. And I'm paying them before I'm really generating enough money to pay that individual. But I'm paying that person with the courage that I know that by utilizing his skills and their abilities, that I'm going to be able to move my business forward faster and be able to ultimately, pay more than just him, but hopefully additional staff in the future. Right. I don't have those capabilities yet, right, that he's building for my backend website and for some of my CRM and for some of the things I'm doing in Go High Level. But I had the courage to be able to pay for him. And though that courage is going to ultimately be able to lead to capabilities of my website, to be able to actually capture leads, to be able to automate some of my processes, like my email marketing and some of the things that I do. That right now I've been doing a lot of things manually and just by myself. And now I'm really trying to identify and leverage others, right? We talk a lot about this book, Who Not How. So I wanted to kind of show it to you. And we've talked about Dan Sullivan a lot and Ben Hardy, but this is the book. All right, guys. Who Not How. We're gonna go through a couple books right now, just because I'm on one right now. All right. The other book is The Gap and the Gain. All right. The 4 C's, The Gap and the Gain. Who Not How. This is all from the same two individuals. This is Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. It's a coaching group that I'm a part of, that I'm included in. And then the last book that they just wrote is this one. All right, 10x is easier than 2x. And so these are books that have really shaped my entrepreneurial journey, and they're books that I regularly go back to. I regularly go back to the teachings of Dan Sullivan, between The Gap and the Gain, the Self-Managing Company, the 4 C's. These are all amazing books if you're an entrepreneur, not only in the real estate world, but really in any kind of world, to be able to go and take your entrepreneurism to another level. All right. To really understand like what motivates you and how you can get the most out of yourself as an entrepreneur, right? There's not many systems and coaches out there that teach entrepreneurs how to really think, how to grow, that it's okay to have these thoughts and this desire to always want to progress and build and grow. And Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy do a great job. So enough plugs for those guys in those books. But back to the 4 C's. All right. If you really want to be successful, okay, we talk about the motivation, right? We got to have motivation. All right. Could be money, could be family, could be freedom, could be whatever, right? You each are going to have your own motivation. Okay. The methodologies, right? We talk in real estate investing here a lot. We talk about multifamily. That's my niche. That's my focus, right? That's the methodology I've identified for myself for those freedoms, right? But the mindset, I think, is one of the most difficult parts, right? And we're all different, right? Some people are W-2s, some people are introverts, some people are extroverts, some people, have a lot of money, some people don't have a lot of money. People have all kinds of varying backgrounds. So that mindset is maybe one of the more difficult things, to be able to put yourself in those right states of mindsets. And I find it a struggle sometimes too, because not everyone thinks the same. And especially as an entrepreneur, and the way my mind thinks, it's very difficult for me to go and find someone else. And so these books and these coachings and whatnot that I've found, I've really been able to just, to me, it's a puzzle piece. It's really been able to fit within my mind some of the struggles I've had, in the past of why do I feel these ways, right? Why am I living in the gap and not the gain, right? I was never measuring backwards. I was always looking at the horizon and the things I should do or could do, right? One of my favorite sayings is, something that basically says, hey, Travis, you have a lot of potential. You know what potential means? It means you haven't done shit, right? And that's the mindset that I always grew up with was, hey, Travis, you're smart. You have a lot of potential, but you haven't done anything yet. Right. And so I've always been on this stride to make an impact, to make a difference, to do more. And that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. That's what I'm trying to do with my real estate investing and investing with a purpose. That's what I'm trying to do by just helping coach other entrepreneurs and real estate investors so that they can find their own freedoms and their own successes. And I really hope that this 4C formula can help transform you. If you want to know more, the experts, it's Dan Sullivan. There's a really nice Audible book. It's about an hour or so. It's just called the 4 C's, right? Go download it, read it. It's a really easy read. So if you want to know more and deep dive into the 4 C's, definitely check out that book. But what do I say at the end of every single one of these podcasts? Commit to taking action today, because that's the very first step. All right. You have to commit to taking action before you can build and then be able to be courageous, right? Before you ever gain any capabilities of doing those things, before you ever have the confidence. So how was I able to buy a sixplex in out of state, right? It wasn't because I was super overconfident. It was because I committed years ago to multifamily, committed myself to learning as much as I could, to giving myself a doctorate level education in multifamily real estate so that I would know, to be able to look at different markets, to be able to underwrite different deals, to look at economical trends and moving trends and all kinds of different factors that I was able to evaluate different markets, right? So that's what gave me that commitment. Then I was courageous to go and invest in some deals, some as limited partners, so I could gain more experience experience, right? Because I kept thinking, I need these capabilities before I can go do something. But really, that courage got to get into that first deal, then finally gave me the capabilities because I could track and trend and follow some of these deals. And then once I had those capabilities, that's when I finally had the confidence to say, hey, I'm going to go buy something. Yeah, it's out of state, it's sight unseen, those sorts of things. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. But really, it's been a long process. And it first took my commitment to real estate investing, to this path of financial freedom and to family freedom for me, to be able to go then to the next step of courage, then capabilities. And now finally, I'm confident to be able to make these multi-million-dollar investments with my personal money, right? And with other people's money to be able to really set us all free and set us all up for success. So again, commit to taking action today to move your real estate investing forward. Take care and God bless.